From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up? It is Wake Up Warchant. It's presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, cptallybar.com. Folks, looking at this show on your phone, you see the logo. You see the Wake Up Warchant logo. You see the Corner Pocket logo. You also see like a barcode. It's what they call a QR code, Corey. It's what the kids call a QR code. Pull out your cell phone, open up your camera app, and pretend you're trying to take a photo of that barcode, that QR code. And you should see the website for Corner Pocket, the address of it pop up. Tap on it, boom, you're on the website. You can check out their menu, everything that's going on. You can order online. You can pick up over at Corner Pocket off Appalachia. And today is Taco Tuesday, all-day special, $1.99 hard or soft shell, I can't say it, soft shell tacos. It's like saying shoulder surgery. That one always used to trip me up, Corey.
No, that's a tough one. And they have trivia every Tuesday as well, Aslan.
All right, with $3 Coronas, but Corey won't partake.
No, not anymore. I'm not living that life anymore.
No.
I was thinking, I thought I had an idea. I pitched it to you. Okay. I'm going to keep pitching it to you.
Okay.
I think once a month, you and I should have an event where we do Florida State trivia at Corner Pocket. Okay. And we give away. Obviously, we do something with Bill. I've talked to Bill. He's all about it. He's the owner. And like maybe I could come up with the questions. I know a million of them. And whoever wins gets like house cash or gets a date with you. Ooh.
Okay. All right.
What about that? Win a date with Aslan?
Yeah, let's go. I thought we wanted to drum up business though. We don't want.
Good point. Who's going to show up for that? That's fair. Sorry, Bill. I'll come up with a better prize than that.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So, are we both reading the questions? Are we drafting a team, and then So how are both of us involved in this? That's what I was wondering.
I think I come up with the questions, and I'll sit there, and I'll be like the celebrity sighting. People can come up and shake hands and stuff, and you read the questions, and then we and I can be the judge too. Like if there's a question about was this close enough? Was this not close enough? Right. I can be the judge.
Okay. All right. Let's get those 8x10 glossies of you, though. I want some headshots. I want you autographing headshots at some point.
Yeah, that's coming too. Come on, man.
Okay. Let's get on to it. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminoles sports source. Plenty of coverage from Monday's practice over on the website. Observations, practice video, Mike Norvell's post-game or post-practice thoughts, Cam McDonald post-practice thoughts, Kalen DeLoach post-practice thoughts. Corey, what were you tasked with writing on Monday after practice?
Yeah, so I did the observations again, like I did on Saturday. Just what Corey Clark saw, and there are a few things that stood out. First and foremost, although I didn't lead with it in the column that I wrote, look, man, you can't stress enough how far the receiver position has come in a year, and it's not because I think what they have now is Alabama or Ohio State levels. It isn't. But, man, is it so much better than what they had last year. Like, they would literally, Aslan, wouldn't you say they got dominated? Like, almost in every drill. 1-on-1, 7-on-7, 11-on-11. Especially early on in spring.
Yeah, accurate.
They got dominated by the DBs. And then this year, I would dare say on Monday, they didn't completely dominate it, but one-on-ones was close. They hit a lot of big plays. They hit a lot of long plays. Overall, the receivers won the day convincingly, in my opinion. And, it started with the very first play in the whatever we call that session in the IPF where, Pokey had it.
Yeah, they go 11-on-11, just tempo. They go real fast.
Yeah. But, Pokey had a 75-yard touchdown on the very first play. Perfectly thrown ball by Travis, who made a lot of them on Monday on the deep passes. He does lay those in there pretty darn impressively. And I say that because you see the other two that maybe miss a little bit more on guys getting a couple steps. He lays it out there pretty good for them to go run under it. And he's shown that in games too. But I just think that's the story. Not that they're incredible, not that they're gonna make you forget about Kelvin and Rashad Green, but it is they had like 6 or 7 different guys make impressive catches, make impressive plays. And last year, there might have been one who would. So that's just what's so encouraging to me, I think.
All right. I can't dispute most of that. That sounds pretty accurate. I mean, that's what Norvell talked about after practice too, right? Basically saying that position group looks and moves like the way it has to. I mean, that was about as diplomatic. That was about as illuminating of an answer as you're going to get from him, because he can't dunk on his receivers from last year because a lot of them are still here, but clearly was not. And clearly last year was not where he wanted that receiving core to be, and they're much closer to it.
Yeah, but also I think some of those guys have gotten better. That's the hope anyway, right? Is they've gotten better. I think the guys that are returning, Ja'Kai Douglas is the guy that, I mean, he's probably made 5 or 6 catches each day. Some like just sprinting past dudes. He's just been an impressive guy, and that wasn't necessarily the case last year. I think Norvell asked Norvell about Ja'Kai, and he said, look, last year he was kind of they didn't know if he was going to be a running back part-time or a wide receiver part-time or how they were going to do all that. And now he's just straight up a wide receiver. And he's working in the slot, of course, because of his size. And he could be a mismatch, man. He's proven he's a mismatch. He's done it multiple times against Notre Dame. He did it against Miami. Now, he didn't have a great season. Nobody's saying that. But he did show that he can be a mismatch when he gets on either a slot corner or a safety. And he might be a guy that's really an important part of their offense this year. He's taken a big step. And then you throw in a guy like Johnny Wilson or in Micah Pittman, and then all of a sudden you're like, all right, this is – and Pokey's continued to make plays. You start to feel like, okay, this is actually not a bad – dare I say it could be a decent wide receiver core. And that to me is and will continue to be the biggest question. But I think, again, not only have the new guys brought life and energy and talent – that's, frankly, to the room. But these new guys, again, they do look a little bit better. Ja'Kai probably the most of the bunch. I think Malik McLean's going to be good. Yeah. But he hasn't made any, to me anyway, that I remember, any wow plays the first 2 days. But Ja'Kai has. Ja'Kai to me has stood out as another guy. Now you got. If you count Pokey, I think, wouldn't you say, Aslan, just from what they have, what we've seen, Winston Wright.
Yeah.
Will play a lot. Johnny Wilson, Micah Pittman are going to play a lot. Pokey's going to play a lot. Mm-hmm. And now I think Ja'Kai's in that mix too, automatically. I think Malik McLean's in there. You know what I mean? There's just more bodies now. There's more bodies and more capable bodies.
And different sizes and shapes too, right? They've got some legit slot guys. I do wonder where this leaves Keyshawn Helton, because, and I think maybe I'll ask Norvell on Wednesday. Just I wonder how much. Are they more alike or are they more different, Winston Wright and Micah Pittman? But in any event, both those guys, Pittman, we at least saw make some catches out there. I don't remember if we saw Winston. I don't think I had him logged down for any catches, but he was out there running around. Johnny Wilson had a nice little bit of a run. But, yeah, man, for sure, they maybe even more so than offensive line, that's the most that's the biggest turnaround. That has to be the most comforting thing so far through 2 days, just to see the quantity and quality of what they have right now at wide receiver. It's noticeably better. It is noticeably, appreciably better.
Yeah.
And, that's what he kind of talked about from the jump, so he wouldn't lie about it. We'll see. And then things will ramp up a little bit here on Wednesday. They'll be putting on the pads, or at least shells.
Yeah.
We're thinking they've been out in helmet and shorts the past 2 days, and Norvell even kind of said as much, hey, let's not get too maybe carried away with some of these sort of observations. That said, he did shout out Brian Courtney. Was a big fan of Brian Courtney. Cam McDonald, big fan of Brian Courtney. I don't have Brian Courtney in my notebook. You hear that, everybody? That's Alzon's notebook. You ready to get to it?
So he made it might have been in one-on-ones now that I think about it, but I thought it was 7-on-7s. But were you out there for 7-on-7s?
Yeah, man. Unless they take a different period of it. I know.
Yeah, so the one-on-ones, Courtney made a 45-yard catch past Akeem Dent, got past him, ran with him, got by him, and then made an over-the-shoulder really nice catch. And then in another, I just noticed there was another one I wrote about where, that had to be one-on-ones. There was another one I've noticed where he caught one over the middle. It just has a little kind of wiggle and burst to him. which, again, we're not expecting Travis Kelce, but it would be nice to have a tight end that can make people miss, make big plays downfield. Norvell actually brought him up to me on Friday when we were kind of just shooting the breeze at the luncheon about Brian Courtney and how impressed he had been with just his athleticism. And it looks it. Again, not in pads. So we'll see. And I have no idea if he can block at all. But he looks like one of those tight ends that could be a difference maker in the pass catching. Early on. It's early. But he looks like he could be a guy they could use later on in his career as a legitimate weapon because he just moves differently. He moves differently than those other guys, in my opinion. Again, tight end is more than just moving differently, but you got to be able to block and be strong. But I was really impressed on that one rep for sure. Like, when was the last time they had a tight end that would blitz by somebody like Akeem Dent? Like, I'm not saying he's as fast as Akeem Dent, but he made a move, got Akeem Dent to bite on it, and then ran past him. He's got some agility and some speed. He's big enough that I think maybe he has a chance. He made a couple plays that I thought stood out.
All right, well, that would be a big deal then because that's a under-recruited
but not
guy.
This year, right? Don't you? I mean, I guess it could happen.
I know we asked Norvell about it, and he said that he thought that they produced well last year, the tight end position, 30-something catches between Cam and Jordan. But I don't know. I mean, when he came here, he talked about how – I don't know. Maybe I feel like one position, if you're successful on offense, you shouldn't have – you shouldn't really – not that he was bragging, but I don't think you should be content with 35, 38 catches from two guys. I know it's not wide receiver, but still, in this day and age of the field being completely open, you have to sort of take advantage of the middle of the field, you should get more from that. And, not that Cam McDonald deserves less reps, but if the guy's out there making plays, then by all means, figure out ways to get him involved. I do have him logged on here for making a catch over Demore Tate in 7-on-7. So he was out there, and I did get him logged on for that one. Maybe one-on-ones I might have been still editing some of the video.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, they probably do that a little bit before special teams or maybe directly after special teams, but I got out there a little bit later than I would have liked to. Let's get to the notepad.
But I did like what I saw out of him in the limited reps. But yeah, I would be really surprised if he certainly early in the year, even if he's turns out to be great. Just a true freshman at tight end is an every down guy. He might be a guy that you throw out there on passing downs.
Yeah, cool with that.
But yeah, every down guy. It's hard. I'm hard pressed to see that happening early on in his career as a freshman.
He's listed at 6'3", 235. He did play quarterback. He also played a little bit of defense. He was recruited as linebacker at some schools. But he's 6'3", 235. Cam's 6'4", 240.
Yeah.
So physically, he's not underdeveloped or behind the curve on that. So.
Well, but you don't know what his strength is. Yeah, I would assume Cam McDonald's a good bit stronger than him right now. He's been in a college weight room for 6 weeks, 2 months. You love that frame, right? Yeah. To get here at 235, absolutely. If he can get up to 250 and keep that speed and agility, that could be a monster. Brian Courtney, buddy, you and AJ Duffy are going to share the Heisman. That's what we figured out after these two practices.
Before we dive into the notebook, I guess maybe I should save this take until after we see pads. They got to recruit a quarterback, though, right? Out of the portal.
Quarterback.
They got to get another quarterback out of the portal, right?
Well, yeah, I think that. I thought that going in. I still think that.
Yeah.
And yes. Yeah. But again, the problem is who? What kind of quarterback?
Right.
You get Jayden Daniels ain't coming.
We'll talk about that later. Let's get
okay, but that's they don't have an open position, so I don't know who's going to come that's going to be that makes you feel great. But yes, it would be they would definitely be. Yeah, I agree. But also, yes, right, yeah, yep. I was going to say something. I won't say it. Yeah.
And it's not even a knock on Jordan or his durability. Part of me does think
no. To me, it's a knock on what's behind him.
Yes. Okay. I didn't
one
give
player
out
in particular, and not the player I talked about yesterday.
Oh, don't.
Well, I don't want people to think, well, Duffy must have really been awful on Monday. It's not that at all. But Duffy's a true freshman. It's a tough ask to think that he could come in and start. And then the other guy, just again, it's really hit or miss with him. He made a couple really nice throws and a couple other throws where you're like, what in the world was that? And it's been a lot of that. He's still young-ish, but you hope by like the practice before the spring game and then the spring game, you see something out of him where he's really taken this month and grown.
Okay, that's
because if
fair.
not, they desperately probably need another quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think it's reckless for them to have gone into spring without getting that other quarterback to maybe have some insurance or push Jordan. I don't know if Jordan needs to be pushed, but just you would feel better if they had somebody else maybe a little bit more seasoned and ready to go. But, they've got 13 more practices to get one of those guys perhaps close to up to speed. And then, an off-season and a preseason camp, maybe they'll feel all right about it. But, we'll have to see some pretty considerable growth here over those next 13 practices, next, 30-ish days or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't hand out a lot of check pluses, Corey, so I'll let you kind of maybe fill in the blanks here. But 7-on-7 unofficial Aslan tabulation. We had Jordan at 7 of 11. They all had 12 reps, 11 because he had nothing on one play. He kind of ran and ate it or whatever. So
yeah.
Shout out to DJ Lundy, the new svelte DJ Lundy. Had him in good coverage. Gave him a plus on coverage. He had a PBU on the first play. Jamie had a PBU. Jamie Robinson. Like to see that kind of stuff. Malik McClain was active. Malik McClain had 2 catches in the 7-on-7 with running with Jordan. I had Tate, 10 of 12. I had a check plus with a throw to Marquiston Douglas. Do you remember that one, Corey?
I do not, no.
Okay, well, that's why I write these things down. But
yeah.
It was a good gainer over the middle to Marquiston. And then moving down to AJ, had AJ 4 of 10 in 7-on-7s. He had the back shoulder throw to Kentron, which I'm sure you remember that one, right?
I do, and for a little context.
Lots of context. Please provide context. Yes.
Yeah, the throws that they're making, especially in that 7-on-7 portion, were all, basically 4 or 5 yard throws.
Yes, it's open.
I don't want you to think
boom.
that Rodemaker was 10 of 12 for 210 yards.
Yeah.
They were all within almost all of them were before the first down marker.
Yeah.
Most of them were within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, and that goes for Jordan Travis too. I think Duffy's throw to Portier was probably the longest gain.
Air throw. Right.
Air throw. It's probably a 18, 20-yard gain. It was a really nice back shoulder too. But
he went for it too several times. Maybe not as much on 11-on-11, but on 7-and-7. It's 7-on-7, man. Just stretch the field. Have some fun out there. Let it rip. A.J. Duffy did twice. He threw the ball the deepest. He attempted the deepest throws of all 3 quarterbacks on Monday, so I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and one thing that if people are wondering, because there are, Winston Wright's he's limited a little bit, so we're not seeing a ton of him. We know what he is. And the other transfer is Deuce Spann, and he's raw. He's still got a lot of work to do. He actually put some aloe
vera on those hands, soften them up a little bit.
One of Duffy's best throws was to him. Probably another he ripped about an 18-yarder in the middle of the field. Looked like a square in maybe, and Spann raises his hands to catch it, and it deflects way up in the air, deflects off Travis J, and then Portier makes a catch for like a 15-yard gain. It was just one of those balls that are batted in the air 3 or 4 times. But he also, on one of those throws that you were talking about, one of those aired out throws, Spann just stopped running. And I can't remember who was covering him, but
20. I'll look up who.
Oh, yeah, our man, A.Z. Thomas.
Oh, yeah, Zaria Thomas.
Yeah, he ran for it, and he had a great interception, by the way. Yeah. But yeah, man, that's the stuff. It's like you can't stop on a route, man. You've got to go. And he had a couple other. He had a drop. He had a looked like he might have run a wrong route one time or didn't come out of the break quick enough. There's you see him at his size and his speed, and you're like, man, there is some serious stuff there if he can figure it out. But that is a big if right now because he just hasn't played the position very long, and I think it's pretty noticeable, especially compared to the other guys that have come in.
Well said. 11-on-11s had Jordan 4 of 5 completions to Cam, completion to Micah Pittman on 2 passes. One was a screen, which I think you probably can. I'll let you kind of explore the space on that one. And then a completion to Malik McClain as well. Not a fan of the tunnel screen, Wake Up Warchant, but sometimes, Corey, they look pretty nice, right?
Yeah. Maybe if you get the right guys to run it, It'll look better. But yeah, I thought the one to Pittman would have been. I thought it's always hard to know when they're just in helmets. Okay, the defenders can't come up and tackle them. They can't come up and hit them hard, so they kind of pull up. And so, but the runners always keep dancing and running and cutting because they have to finish the play. So even if they've been touched, they're running another 50 yards to finish the play. But on that particular play, so you always struggle to know, okay, was that a 7-yard gain or was it really a 50-yard gain? Was that 2 or 20? Like, it's hard to know sometimes. And that one, the way it was blocked up and the way it was conceived and the way Pittman sees it and sees where maybe the leverage is from the blocker and rides that and gets to the next level, that had a chance to be, I thought, like a 30 or 40 or 50, like legitimately. It was just a well-run play, and he looks to run those. He seems to run those really well. So yeah, that was probably, I thought, maybe the best play of 11-on-11 period, and it was also the one that was thrown the shortest. It was literally like a 1-yard throw.
What stood out to me with Jordan running out there during 11-on-11 was actually Lawrence Toafili on a run. They do run the ball in some of these reps during 11-on-11. He's such a slasher.
Yeah,
Toafili just he's not a straight line guy, and it's not a knock. It's just he just pounces spot to spot, just slashes out there, and you could hear Norvell bellowing out all the way from the opposite side of the practice field to where we're at Hauser. Just what a run. Said it like out loud 3 times. So shout out to Lawrence Toafili making things happen. Had Tate 2 of 4 in 11-on-11s. Completions of Marquiston and Jordan Young. He's alive and well and has eligibility. Mm-hmm. Shout out to him. And then A.J. Duffy, had him going 3 of 3 in 11-on-11, but there was 2 plays where there was nothing going on. He scrambled. He had nothing. And, again, these weren't deep throws other than he did have a good throw to Deuce Spann later on towards the end of his 11-on-11. That was good. The thing that I liked the most from A.J. in 11-on-11, man, he had one throw where he threw an out route to the field side. Basically the wide side of the field, which that's like one of the more difficult throws you're going to ask a quarterback to make. And dude, it was on point, man. It was absolutely on point. I think that was actually
who caught that? I thought
think
that was Spann.
Yeah, it was that one. Actually, yeah, I got it mixed up.
So that was his best play of the whole day, I thought.
Yeah.
Spann, like he went back, he caught it, he high pointed it, and it's like, okay, there's some stuff there. But yeah, that was a really impressive throw.
Yeah.
So and I will say that, like, again, we'll know much more about everything once they put on the shoulder pads, the shells on Wednesday, and I assume they go full pads on Friday. I don't know. Maybe they save that for when they get back after the week break. But overall, yeah, I thought the receivers did a pretty good job. There was our man A.Z. Thomas had an interception, another one. Mm-hmm. That was where he ripped the ball away. It was a great play. They both went to the ground. I think that's what happened. I know Renardo Green had one of those too.
Correct. He did.
So yeah, Thomas now, that's 2 straight days with a pick. That's good. That's good to see. That kid is an athlete. That kid has something to him. So yeah, you're always wanting to know how the new guys look. Again, obviously, because he had 2 picks, he stood out. We're not watching the film, so maybe Sam McCall has had some great reps too. He just hasn't had any interceptions, so we don't know. Maybe he's covering his guy so good. So well that we
don't look on that side of the field.
Him.
Yeah, don't even go on that side of the field.
That's McCall Island.
McCall. Renardo's pick came in 11-on-11, so little extra sort of sauce in there. So he's on the team mission takeaway tweet, as is Azaria Thomas. So yeah, we're letting you know how it all went. So that was a 1-on-1. It says. Yeah, I don't log 1-on-1s, everybody. Maybe I'll graduate up to that, but that's it for the notebook.
But remember, you watched them last year, and again, those receivers they had trouble getting separation in 1-on-1s, which should not ever be the case. You know where you're going. The DB doesn't. There's no pass rush. There's no safety to contend with. It's just you and the DB 1-on-1. You should win, I don't know, man, 65-70% of those.
Yeah.
And last year they were hitting about 20%, I would think. Mm-hmm. This year they're closer to 70%. And a lot of them for big gains. Another guy that I wanted to bring up, Aslan, and you might not have been out there when he ran his stuff. Corey Wren, I I don't know what they're going to do with him, but there was a play. It was either 7-on-7 or 1-on-1s. I think it was 1-on-1s where he came off the line, did like a square end, caught it and turned. And I'm like, who? What? That's different. Like it looked like the guy that was guarding him was standing still.
He's so fast.
Corey Wren just has such a different level of speed, and you just wonder if they can figure out. And they're trying, like he's working out with the wide receivers a good bit. If they can figure out something to do with him, because he has legit like almost world class speed. It would be nice to be able to get somebody like that the ball, or him be able to get open and catch the ball. And they're still trying. This is year 3 now. They're going into it, trying to figure out what to do with him. But he stood out a couple of times where it's a different level of speed. And there's a lot of fast dudes out there. His speed is just a little bit different.
Yeah, and he's out there catching kicks as well. And he's catching them cleanly. So that's pretty encouraging. And when I spoke to David Johnson on Friday, Corey, he actually did say that he's excited about Corey Wren, Corey Clark as well. But
he's always excited about Corey Clark.
Apparently, he said that Corey Wren was training with the track team this offseason.
Okay.
I don't know how the calendars work up. I don't, what Brayman's doing out there, but apparently Corey was getting some work with the track team, so that's kind of even helped him polish up a couple of things that he's doing. So hopefully we'll be able to see that. And David Johnson even mentioned as well, saying that we have to find ways to get him on speed sweeps, toss sweeps, jet sweeps, things like that, because he's just different. His speed is noticeable out there. So it speaks to the larger point too, Corey, is that they just have good players at every position, it seems like, and they've got multiple ones, right? Like there's guys out there, like the difference between the 1s and the 2s, whatever you want to call it right now, isn't noticeable. There's still a good level of competitiveness going on out there. Whereas last year, like if it was Mackenzie's day or Mackenzie's time to go with the 1s or Jordan's time to go with the 1s, like you were a little bit kind of interested to see how the 2s would look because, let's see how Jordan's going to do the 2s or Mackenzie. But it just, what they were working with out wide and even on the offensive line was a noticeable drop-off. And it's not that way right now. It hasn't been that way through 2 days, again, in helmet and shorts. We'll see how it looks like in pads. But, man, there's a level of competitive talent out there now that's going on with these guys. It's going to obviously have to pay dividends. And there's just new faces that were like, all right, Bless Harris. Like you point out Bless Harris with a pancake block during, I think, 11-on-11, obviously. Like that's just he's the guy that wasn't here last year. And he wasn't maybe necessarily – a guy that you were thinking was going to come in here and make an instant impact, and it's just one play in an 11-on-11. But, again, we're seeing no matter who's out there, 1s, 2s, there's guys that are making plays that are noticeably kind of more eye-catching than last year. So that's what makes me feel good this early on.
Yeah, again, 2 practices. We're not going crazy, but, yeah, it's been impressive, I think.
Corey, would be remiss through all this logging of 7-on-7, 11-on-11s, Aslan's playbook. It's a notebook. It's not a composition book, guys and ladies. It's not even your spiral notebook that you had in grade school. It's a notepad. The spiral's up top. The page is flipped from the bottom to the top, not side to side. Good, strong, solid notebook.
Yeah. You wouldn't believe how many people over the last 2 or 3 days have asked me, what kind of notebook is Aslan using?
Yeah. So now you know.
I mean, so finally you got that out there. I was hoping you'd tweet about it and you wouldn't have to address it anymore. But yeah, that's what he's using, gang. That's what he's using.
You should see what Ira uses, everybody. Ira's got a tablet with a stylus, and it looks amazing. It looks like a piece of paper and a pencil, right? It's incredible. I want that.
Yeah, writing on a tablet or like I don't think it's an iPad, but it's like an iPad.
Yeah. It's
shaped like an iPad. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm just sitting there with Tom Lang and we're just watching. I would have used my phone. Sometimes I like to track notes in my phone.
I'm terrible
but
at that.
my phone was about to die and I didn't want that to happen, so I couldn't do that on Monday.
I don't like using my phone for anything work related, really. Like I don't like uploading video or editing. I don't like I don't. The notepad. It looks like a slot machine. Hopefully the slots that you'll see when you're high rolling and winning, hopefully, Corey. It wasn't all 7s that popped up, but we had 3 14s in a row during 7-on-7. That's Johnny Wilson. He's large. makes good hands too. That was nice to see.
Yeah, I think it was the first rep of one-on-ones. Whoever was covering him actually had good coverage. It might have been Cooper. It was Cooper. Had really good coverage on him. Like blocked him a couple times off the line. Travis had to like pump fake it, had to kind of hold it, hitch it a little bit, and then ripped a throw right to both of them. And Johnny Wilson caught it and ripped it away. And it's the second time we've seen that happen. And then later on, that was in one-on-ones. And then on 7-on-7, he had 3 catches in a row. I can't remember if they were from Tate or not. I think they were.
And 7-on-7?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was from Tate.
I think they were from Tate. And, you could tell that Norvell was quite pleased with what he saw. They were all similar kind of routes, like middle of the field, a couple of slants, maybe a shallow cross, but middle of the field, big body, getting open, getting between the defender and the quarterback. So he's presents himself as a target. It's just something that's not, Cam McDonald talked about him afterwards, and he's like, when we were interviewing him, he's like, I'm a big guy, but I'm not that big. That's just different. He's like, wide receivers are a dime a dozen, but not when they're 6'7". And he moves really well. Like he feels like a tight end that just plays out wide. But that's one thing I noticed too. Like he's not a blazer. He's not Corey Wren, but he's not a slowpoke. Like he's got some twitch to him.
He's not heavy-footed at all. No.
Yeah, and he's 6'7". And what I love is he's making the contested catches. And I don't know if it's just these guys are getting better or they've gotten better on their own. But watching him start off a whole drill by ripping the ball away from a DB, it was like, man, you didn't see that at all last year, and now you saw it. He wasn't the only one that made a contested catch. There were a couple dudes that a lot of dudes that made contested catches on Monday, and that's what you got to see. They're not always going to be wide open. So that, again, just the competitiveness that he brings, I think, the size, the ability, all that. I just think he and Pittman and Wright, maybe Spann later, are just going to have such a positive impact on that whole room, and all those guys are going to step up. They appear to be doing so already.
Yeah. All right. As we leave you, there were some other people that had shot Kalen DeLoach on a pass breakup, and Omar Graham Jr. on a pass breakup.
There you go. Right.
They deserve it.
Nice.
It's tough. It's tough out there.
Shaheem Brown had 2. He had 2 PBUs. Yeah. It wasn't all wide receivers.
No.
The DBs made some plays too.
Speaking of Arizona State and Johnny Wilson, though, came down on, I think, Sunday, but we didn't mention the show. I didn't see it. Sorry, everybody. Got to get better at that tomorrow, 1%. Jayden Daniels, who, we bandied about as not an option, but just a guy that would been in the portal, and like, how are you going to pull a guy like that? Do you have the right sort of situation? Well, apparently Brian Kelly in Baton Rouge does. So he committed to LSU on Sunday, and apparently is going to be able to enroll in time to participate in spring football, which is the craziest thing to me, Corey. He's enrolling in March. I don't know.
How's that work, Aslan? Explain that to me.
I don't know. What kind of Ira was saying maybe they have trimesters or something, or trisemesters.
How about it's just the SEC and they do what they want? What are you going to do?
It is.
Who's going to turn them in? Who's going to care?
They probably literally have one major, like they probably have one graduate program that literally starts in March just for this. Like, oh yeah, we got 30 kids at our school that want to do this. We'll have it start in March. That way we can always use that to enroll a grad transfer into that, so they're good for us in spring football. There's a thread on Warchant. Somebody, our guy Grumpy BK, fan of the program, usually he's commenting on our show. Shout out, thanks for it.
Hey, before we forget, Joel Davis.
Yeah,
saw him
Pillar.
in person on Monday.
Yeah, he's a real person. He doesn't just drop $500 on a live chat and just leave it. It's not my father under a pen name trying to make his son feel good about himself. It's a real person. And he had a sweet biker jacket. Like not Harley Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, it wasn't skull and crossbones or anything, and Death from Above. It didn't say Death from Above on it, but it was like Ducati. A nice brown leather jacket.
Yeah, like a Ducati or something. So shout out Joel Davis, fan of the program.
Yeah, sure.
Joel likes dropping in on the recruiting chat. So we'll have a recruiting chat later today, 6:00, Langston and myself. So he commits Jayden Daniels, and the title of the thread on our tribal council from Grumpy BK is "The LSU game just got tougher." Jayden Daniels transferred to LSU, and then the first 2 comments: "Come on, man, SMH," and then "Have you seen him play lately?" Actually, there's a lot of people that don't like it. A lot of people aren't that scared about it. I'm not scared.
Well,
I'm intrigued, though.
I think
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a good get for LSU.
Yeah.
I think what people remember, number one, he wasn't. I feel like did he struggle? No, I guess he only played 4 games in 2020, and then I don't feel like last year he had a very good year, but that was a crazy situation at Arizona State. But I think most Florida State fans remember him from the bowl game, and he wasn't good in the bowl game at all. He was. I mean, I think he wasn't as bad as Blackman because he didn't give the other team the ball every other possession, but
he was without his number one receiver and his number one running
better.
back. But still though. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jordan Travis was without them his whole career. He still made plays, but so yeah, I think that's an intriguing get for them for sure. I would imagine. I mean, I don't know that. I know that kid they have already there has started for them in the past, right? So it's not a slam dunk that Jayden Daniels starts.
He's
It's not Miles Brennan, isn't it?
Yes. Miles Brennan's more injury prone than Jordan. Like Jordan has been way more available than Miles Brennan. It's Miles Brennan, Doug Nussmeier's son, and they've got some Walker Howard, I think, who's a really top end recruit, but he's a true freshman. I think he's an early enrollee as well, but I don't know if he'd be able to kind of come in and make it happen. Jayden Daniels, by the way, 12
so you assumed
of 28 for 195. That's a 42.9 completion percentage, no touchdowns against Florida State in that Sun Bowl. Ran the ball 12 times for 36 yards, was sacked 3 times. So, it
didn't even impress me all that much with his wheels. No. It's just like he didn't want to be there because he didn't have who was that receiver?
Ayuk, Brandon Ayuk. Who's really good.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. He is. Yeah, that was a big loss. Florida State didn't have Cam Akers either, though. So similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, that makes that game. Obviously was going to be intriguing anyway. I think we both assume that Jayden Daniels will probably be the starter, but it will be his first game in a new system with a new coach, with new teammates. We'll see. We'll see. It's certainly better than Caleb Williams, if you're a Florida State fan, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Don't you think? So,
I mean, as a freshman, he threw 17 touchdowns, only 2 picks. That COVID-shortened season in the Pac-12, they went, I think, 3-2. The 2 games they lost were both by 1 possession. He had 5 touchdowns, only 1 interception. But then this most recent year, he did complete 65% of his passes, which was a career best. But he only had 10 touchdowns and then 10 interceptions. But again, speaking to the guy over at the Arizona State website when he was talking about Johnny Walker, I'm going to say that at least one more time. I can guarantee you. But
Johnny Walker bought me my next drink.
Yeah, but that Johnny Wilson, it was just kind of hard to judge him because just entering as a true freshman in 2020 in the Pac-12 was even more complicated than anybody else had to kind of really deal with because of the way they did their schedule. And then with all this stuff looming around them going into 2021, I think they fired the receiver coach going into 2021. And then at the end of the season, they got rid of their offensive coordinator because of all these NCAA, recruiting investigation that's going on right now. So that everything was a little bit sideways over there. So if I think part of me is like, if you're going to give Johnny Wilson the benefit of the doubt on that, then you probably should maybe give a little respect to that to Jayden Daniels as well. But again, to your points are valid. I mean, he's going to have 30 practices or whatever to get ready for Florida State. First game of the season. No warm-up, no tune-up. Good luck, kid.
It is kind of a bummer for Florida State, from Florida State's perspective, that he can practice in the spring, like this late in the game.
Absolutely.
I would just assume that was, I just wouldn't imagine that you could enroll. I guess, is there a rule that, say he wasn't enrolled in LSU, he just was a recruit, could he not take some reps? Is there a rule that says you can't do that? If he was just on a visit.
You can't participate in an intercollegiate sport if you're not an actual student. Yeah, no.
But you're not in a game. You're just at a practice. They could let you throw the ball around to Pokey. Like if he came to Florida State, they couldn't let him take some reps with Pokey?
No.
Oh, all right.
Maybe, I don't know.
Right, what bylaw is it? That's what I'm asking. What bylaw is it? Nobody's even thought about that. That's next level. Nobody even thought to make that a rule because nobody thought anybody would try it. But yeah, maybe Jayden Daniels could have just stayed in Baton Rouge for a month, not even go to school, and just go out for practice. But yeah, apparently that's what he's doing. And then, he'll be ready to go, you would think, in early September in New Orleans.
Yeah. He ran for 700 yards and had 6 touchdowns last year, though. I mean, he had over 3,000 total yards of offense, 16 touchdowns, 10 picks. That hurts. That hurts a lot.
No, yeah, you would much rather. I'm not saying he's bad. That certainly wasn't good news for Florida State.
No.
Because I've never been a believer in that other guy at LSU, and that Jayden Daniels, and the mobility is what always scares you, right? Like you could cover everything great. Well, you see it with Jordan Travis,
Absolutely.
and then he rips off a 21-yard run on 3rd and 11, and it's just like, yeah, come on. And so that's what scares you a little bit more than anything else.
So I hate when people do that to us. That's why it's been so hard for me to wrap my arms around Jordan. Like, I'm not pushing Jordan away.
Right.
I'm just like, I just remember like Tyrod Taylor and Russell Wilson, and it's like, stop it, knock it off. I'm trying to pull up Miles Brennan and see. He had 11 touchdowns, 3 picks. He played in 3 games in 2020. He didn't play in 2021. He's been there since 2017. He's been there since 2017. This guy. He's always banged up. He's never attempted more than 100.
Here's the thing.
Passes.
Maybe he's incredibly irked by this late season addition, and he gets in the portal. That's a guy that could be a good backup for you.
Yeah, but why would he do
Right?
that? Why would he leave being a backup?
Because he's not going to win the job, and he feels scorned. He's not scorned at Florida State. They appreciate him at Florida State. Not enough to start, but he could be the backup.
All right, come home, Miles. Come home, buddy. All right, that's a wrap for us then.
That's right.
We'll be back out at practice on Wednesday. We'll do a live show after that. That'll be your Thursday podcast, tentatively, but most likely. Live show later today, 6 p.m., Michael Langston. But before that, Seminole Headlines, 1 to 3 p.m. with Jeff, Ira, and the headliner, Corey Clark. So do stay tuned and connected for that. Go to the website, read Corey's observations. You heard a lot about him, but it's so much better to read it. It's right there. You can stop it. You can look at it whenever you want. And then the practice video's up as well. And then all the interviews afterwards. So much content. Help yourselves, everybody. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.